Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 25th of September 2023। तो आज इतने सारे इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल है, वन बाय वन इसे देख लीजिएगा। आधार वन रिलायबल इन हॉट ह्यूमिड एरिया रेटिंग एजेंसी, ये सारे 12 आर्टिकल्स हैं। आधार ऑन रिलायबल इन हॉट ह्यूमिड इंडिया रेटिंग एजेंसी अमिड इंडिया से डिजिटल इंफ्रा। Global rating major Moody's Investor Services has flagged concern about security and privacy vulnerabilities in centralized identification systems such as India's Aadhaar program. The unique ID system often results in servicing denial and using biometric technology in human conditions is unreliable if noted. The other system enables access to public and private services with verifications through fingerprints of iris scans and alternatives such as one-time passwords. However, it faces hurdles including the burden of establishing authorization and concerns about biometric reliability. Moody's said the Unique Identification Authority of India administers Aadhaar, aiming to integrate marginalized groups and expand welfare benefits access. The system often results in service denial and the reliability of biometric technology, especially for manual labors in hot, humid climate, is questionable. Is it is stressed. The rating agency remarks assume significance in view of government's adoption of Aadhaar for routing direct benefit transfers to beneficiaries of official welfare schemes, and in particular the diktat to mandate Aadhaar-based payment for the laborers under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Last month, the government extended its deadline for switching to a Aadhaar-based payment system for MGNREGS beneficiaries for the fifth time, pushing it to the December 31 this year. In a report on decentralized finance and digital assets issued on Saturday, Moody's acknowledged Aadhaar is the world's largest digital ID program that assigns unique numbers to over 1.2 billion Indian residents. The rating agency termed Aadhaar and a new crypto-based digital identification token called Worldline as two digital ID systems in the world that stand out due to their scale and extent of innovations. However, Moody's also said that they have drawn scrutiny, especially concerning privacy and security, stressing that ID systems like Aadhaar lead to the concentration of sensitive information with specific entities and increase the increase of data risk of data breaches. Moody's made a pitch for decentralized ID systems such as digital wallets based on blockchain capabilities that give users more control of their private data and can reduce online fraud. Decentralized system. In recent years, the spotlight has shifted towards DID as a strategic response to the security and privacy vulnerability posed by centralized ID systems like Aadhaar. The agency noted, citing successful programs in Catalonia, Azerbaijan, and Estonia that have used blockchain-based system to issue digital identities. Estonia, known for its fully digitalized public services, has embraced SSI self-sovereign identity to grant citizens to complete control over their digital identities. It pointed out in a centralized system, a single entity such as a bank, a social media platform, or government electoral roll control and manages a user identity identifying a credentials of their access to online resources. That entity can dispose of users identity data, name, address, and social security number, for example, for internal or third party profiling purposes. The report avoid stating that such system offer the last personal data control to users. Multiple entry exit option in higher studies may not suit India House panel. After several organizations of students and teachers raised objection to the opposition of multiple entry and multiple exit (MEME) in the National Education Policy, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Education headed by BJP MP Vivek Thakur has advised the centre to hold a discussion with all stakeholders. The panel in a report titled Implementation of the National Education Policy 2020 in Higher Education said Indian institutes were likely to face several issues in implementing the system. The report was tabled in both houses of the parliament during the recently concluded special session. The NEP proposes multi-entry and multi-exit option for the students in higher education. The panel said while the MEME looked like a flexible system which was being operated by Western educational institutions effectively, it might not work well in the country, citing high population. It said the estimated intake of students in higher education every year was high. If institutions allow MEME, it would be very difficult for the institution to predict how many students would exit and how many students would join midway, since institution would not know the in and out traffic. It will certainly disturb the pupil taker ratio, the report said. The members has also expressed concerns about the uneven geographical distribution of higher educational institutions, creating hurdles in managing MEME in several areas, mostly the countryside. The institution have not thought very clearly about this problem and how they will resolve it when it is at their doorstep, the report said. The panel, however, noted that MEME would offer students greater flexibility and choice in their educational pathways and asked the center to develop comprehensive guidelines and a well-defined framework for MEME options, including specific eligibility criteria, credit transfer mechanism, providing a clear roadmap for students pursuing different exit points, also implementing a standardized credit accumulation and transfer CAT system that allows students to earn and transfer credit seamlessly across institutions would facilitate smooth transitions between different levels of education, from certificate courses to doctoral programs. The report said and added that there were issues and difficulties in implementing the MEME options. The panel recommended that the Union Education Ministry have wider consultation with various universities, institutions, their regulatory bodies, and other stakeholders to devise ways in view of the difficulties being faced in implementing the MEME option and apprise the panel of it. The Kerala government has decided not to implement MEME colleges and universities in the state. Land around Assam monastery to be reserved for indigenous people. The Assam government is working on a law to create indigenously zone around Betadrava, the birthplace of 15th-16th century saint reformer Srimanta Shankaradeva, who propounded new Vaishnavism. The Betadrava, which is in Nagaon district, is about 130 kilometers east of Guwahati. We shall soon come up with a law to throw a protective ring of 8 kilometer radius around Betadrava, then holy spot alongside a satra or monastery. Assam Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sharma said. Mr. Sharma said that the land within this zone will be conserved for Khilonjia indigenous people only. He was speaking at program marking the 575th birth anniversary of the Saint Reformer on Sunday. Betadrava is to the followers of New Vaishnavism, but Vatican City is to Roman Catholics, freeing land belonging to this monastery and 912 others from alleged encroachment by migrant Muslims. Is a BJP poll promise will beautify 21 places. We have also decided to develop and beautify to total of 21 places where Srimanta Shankaradeva stayed even for a night during his spiritual journey, the Chief Minister said. He added a modern Namghar will be built in these places and a 15-day circuit will touch these 21 places. On December 25, 2020, Union Home Minister Amit Shah laid the foundation stone of a 22 crore project to develop and beautify Batadrava. The redevelopment project entails a park and an auditorium and a tourist guest house. Team from Telangana visit Buddhist caves in Sri Lanka. A Buddham A Buddhavanam team from Telangana visited the 3rd century BC Buddhist rock cut cave at Mathal on the Colombo Kandy route in Sri Lanka on Sunday. Melepalli Lakshmiha, special officer and E. Sabnig Sivanagi Reddy, Buddhist expert consultant, visited the site where the teachings of Lord Buddha were scribbled for the first time on palm leaves. Buddha Vanam project. Buddha Vanam is a massive Buddhist heritage theme park developed by the Telangana government at Nagarjuna Sagar. Mr. Lakshmi has said that the Buddha's teaching called Tripitaka Sutra, Vinaya, and Abhidharma Pitaka which were transmitted only until that time were written on palm leaves under the auspices of Sri Lankan King Demampriya Tisa, a contemporary of King Asoka. He said it was only after that date Buddhist literature came into being in India. Mr. Lakshmi also said that Acharya Buddha Ghosa, the famous Theravada Buddhist philosopher, lived in these caves for some time and wrote Visuddhi Maga. He also appreciated the Mathal Buddha Vihara for running a school in the name of Acharya Buddha Ghosa even today as a token of respect to his scholarship. Mr. Sivanagi Reddy, Buddhist expert consultant of the Buddhavanam project, an archaeologist, said the rock cut caves, the monastery and antiquities recovered from the surrounding areas shows the Buddhist connection between the two Telugu states and Sri Lanka. Later, Mr. Lakshmi has called on Venerable Gyanatilak Mahatheru, the deputy chief monk of Bihara at Anuradhapur, and extended an invitation to him to visit Buddha Vanam, a unique and largest Buddhist heritage theme park in Southeast Asia. The monk responded positively and said that he would visit in the month of October this year and presented Buddhist sovereigns to both Mr. Lakshmiha and Mr. Sivanagi Reddy. Mr. Professor Gamini Rana Singh, Director General Central Culture Fund of Sri Lanka, participated in both the programs. Then politicizing exchanges. China's denial of entry of Arunachal athletes shows up the distrust in ties. The Asian Games, which were opened on September 23 by Chinese President Xi Jinping in Hangzhou, following the spectacular opening ceremony on a scale that has now come to be expected from China, are meant to showcase a broader message of Asian solidarity. The day leading up to the opening ceremony of the 19th edition were, however, marked by anything but the day before the opening. Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur cancelled his visit to China as a mark of protest to the last-minute denial of entry to three Indian Wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh. The three athletes in Nieman Wungshu, Unilu Taga, and Mepung Lambu were given the accreditations needed to travel along with the rest of the Indian teams for the games. However, in what appears to be a directive issued to the airlines by China, the athletes were told they could not board their flights. China has in the past issued stapled visas to Indian from Arunachal Pradesh only in July. Three Wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh, due to take part in the World University Games in Chengdu, were issued stapled visas. In this instance, the decision to bar the athletes appears particularly vindictive, as visas were not needed to travel for athletes issued digital accreditations. Indian officials believe Beijing thus went out of its way to bar their travel by instructing the airlines to not allow them to board. The Ministry of External Affairs in a statement described the action as a targeted and premeditated This is unfortunately not the first instance of Beijing using sporting events that should have no place for politics to score geopolitical point. In February last year, Beijing ill-advisedly selected the People's Liberation Army's commander involved in the Galwan Valley clash as one of the torchbearer of Winter Olympics. Both then and now, the organizers have appeared more than happy to look the other way, given China's status as both willing host and strong financial backer of such events. The acting president of the Olympic Council of Asia, Ranveer Singh, who met with President Xi in Hangzhou, in remarks to journalists, chose not to call out the denial of entry to athletes, instead only saying the matter was being discussed beyond the Asian Games. The latest Chinese action serves as a reminder of the current distrust of in bilateral relations, as well as of the absence of adequate channel of communication to deal with long persisting thorny issues, including visas. New Delhi has correctly made clear that restoring normalcy in relation with not be possible without completing the disengagement processes along the line of actual control and restoring peace in border areas until Beijing reviews its stance on border. The current state of affairs, which should neither India nor China, is likely to endure. ये थोड़ा आप खुद से पढ़ लीजिएगा, ये वाला और ये सेकंड वाला, इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर फॉर द इजराइल लिंक ऑफ द जियोपॉलिटिक्स, मैंने फुकुशिमा नॉर्थ वेस्ट वाटर कंट्रोवर्सी, ये भी थोड़ा देख लीजिए. Defense Board discusses plans for second Vikrama-like carrier. The estimated cost of a project is 40,000 crore. It could see some modification and upgrades to design of Vikrant. The proposal is yet to be cleared by DPP. Once okayed, it will be sent for final approval by Defence Acquisition Council. The Defense Procurement Board last week discussed the Navy's proposal for acquiring a second Vikrant-like aircraft carrier. According to defense sources, however, the DPB is yet to clear the proposal. Only after that will the proposal be put for a final approval by the Defense Acquisition Council, headed by the Defense Minister. A source said the DPB, which met last Friday, discussed the issue. The discussion are expected to continue in next meeting. The sources said the project, estimated to cost around 40,000 crore, will see some modification and upgrades the design of the country's first indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, commissioned in September 2022, and will also be manufactured by Cochin Shipyard Limited. Another source stated the 262-meter long, 62-meter wide INS Vikrant, displacing 44,800 tons, is powered by four General Electric LM2500 engines, which give it a maximum speed of 28 knots and an endurance of 7,500 nautical miles. The ship uses an aircraft operations mode known as short takeoff but arrested recovery, for which it is equipped with a ski jump for launching aircraft and a set of three arrestor wires for their recovery on board. And in additional, the Navy also operates the 44,000 tons carrier INS Vikramaditya, which also employs the Stobar mechanism procured from Russia under a $2.3 billion deal and inducted in November 2013. Speaking on the sidelines of the Aero India Air Show in Bengaluru in February, Navy Chief Admiral R. Hari Kumar had said that the Navy was finalizing plans for a repeat order of Vikrant sized carrier in indigenous aircraft carrier 2 IAC-2 with some modifications. Given the long timelines, it may be inducted close to the times INS Vikramaditya leaves service, effectively becoming its replacement, he said, adding that the Navy would continue to study the need for a larger and more capable carrier. The Navy, which has for a long built its Force structure centered on three carrier had envisaged an IAC-2 with a displacement of 65,000 tons and catapult assisted takeoff but arrested recovery CA Tobar system for launching aircraft as well as full electric propulsion. Higher cost, however, a much bigger carrier with a newer technology would mean much higher cost and build time, due to which the Navy has settled for a repeat of a Vikram side carrier. The keel of Vikrant was laid in 2009. It was launched into water in 2013 and commissioned in 2022. With the experience gained from that, CSL officials had stated that a repeat order can be executed in 7 to 8 years. In the past, Standing Committee on Defense noted that three aircraft carriers were on an unavoidable requirement to meet any eventualities, and stated that taking into account the long coastlines and hostile advisory on both sides of Indian Peninsula, and an aircraft carrier on both sides of coast was quintessential to uphold operational requirements. The next were 9 Vande Bharat trains to link religious tourist sites. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday said it was unfortunate that not much attention was given earlier to modernizing the railways, and said his government was working for its transformation. Mr. Modi made the remarks by video conferencing before flagging of 9 Vande Bharat trains connecting religious and tourist destinations across 11 states. He said the speed and scale of the infrastructure development was matching the aspirations of 140 crores of India. The popularity of Vande Bharat train was constantly rising, and over 1.11 crore passengers had already travelled on them. The Prime Minister noted that 25 Vande Bharat trains were running, and now 9 more had been added. The day was not far when these trains would connect all parts of the country. Indian Railways is the most trusted co-passenger of India's poor and middle class peoples. The number of people who traveled on the railways in one day is more than the population of many countries, he said. The new Vande Bharat trains flagged off by Mr. Modi will run between Udaipur, Jaipur, Jamnagar, Ahmedabad, Patna, Howrah, Ranchi, Howrah, Raurkela, Bhubaneswar, Puri, Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Vijayawada, Chennai, via Tirunelveli, Madurai, Chennai, Kasaragod, Thiruvananthapuram. These trains equipped with advanced safety features including Kavach will be a key step towards providing modern, speedy and comfortable means of travel to common people, professional, businessmen, student, community and tourists. According to an official statement, the new trains have a host of features incorporated after the passenger feedback. The seat recline angle has been raised from 70.31 degree to 19.31 degree. Cushioning option optimized and color of the seats in the executive class changed from red to blue. The changes also include improved accessibility. The NASA first asteroid sample land on Earth after release from spacecraft. NASA's first asteroid sample fetched from deep space parachutes into the Utah Desert on Sunday to cap a 7-year journey in a flyby of Earth. The Orisis-Rex spacecraft released the sample capsule from 1 lakh kilometers out. The small capsule landed 4 hours later on a remote expanse of military land as the mothership set off after another asteroid. Then next we have galactic tide pushing and pulling the heavens. Just as the Earth's ocean at their source, the universe galaxies also experiences tides, but on a much larger scale. Galactic tides are caused by gravitational force within a galaxy arising in the interaction between celestial objects such as stars and gas clouds. These tidal forces influence various aspects of a galaxy evolution. They can reshape a galaxy structure by creating tidal tails and bridges, promoting star formation and disrupting smaller star system alone. Over aeon, galactic tides also disrupt the orbit of stars, leading to long-term changes in galactic structure. Galactic tides also have a say in the ways in which approximate galaxies do and do not interact. In fact, researchers have observed the closest galaxy to the Milky Way and the colossal Andromeda and have found that tidal streams near its edges could be signatures of dwarf galaxies that were later devoured. The Andromeda galaxy is heading towards the Milky Way at 110 km per second and will collide in 4 billion years. Galactic tides also affect the supermassive black hole at galactic center, leading to events that change the way in which these cosmic beasts interact with. So this is all for today, and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with new news analysis. So thank you all.